Hello, my name is Audrey Gordon, and I'd like to welcome you to day 19 of the Dataverse Advent Calendar. I'd like to continue this series, kind of following behind Rasika, who did an amazing job yesterday, with some more helpful tips for Power Automate as well as Power Virtual Agent flows. I want to start by saying that Rasika did an amazing job yesterday of showing you many different options for how you can filter data. The key point being filtering data is critical. As she pointed out many times, and I want to help her to underscore this, it is best to filter your data down as soon as you make the call, because this will make your queries more performant. Okay, so when you look at all those options, though, I want to point at OData as a key option, especially for any brand new users of Flow. It's the one that's pretty easy to approach once you get the key points. And I'm going to try and give you the key points right now so that no matter how new you are in Dataverse and how new you are in Power Automate, you will get how to perform an OData query. Don't let the complexity of that name scare you away. It ain't all that, okay? So, looking at this screen that I have here, you'll see that I'm focused on the list row, but this is where you'll most likely do your filters. But you can use this OData principle anywhere that you're filtering, all right? So, if I'm in the list row action and I'm in accounts, I don't want to get back all 20,000 accounts, right? That's just not going to be a good thing. I want to focus on the ones that I want, that apply. In this particular case, I'm just going to get one back because only one has this exact name, Alpine Ski House sample. So I want to break this syntax down a little bit more for you, especially those of you that are beginners, and tell you what options you have. So looking over here, you can see that I've copied over that syntax from filter row, and I'm just going to explain it. So the first part of it is the logical column name. So what are you going to use as the thing you're going to rely on for filtering? In this case, since I'm looking for a particular customer, I'm going to use the name. The name is often unique, so it may not be the best for every query. But in this case, I'm just going to use it as an example because it's easy to understand. All right, so if this is the name in the display name of this column, by the way, is account name. But I'm not going to use the display name. I'm going to use the internal logical name. And you might remember a couple of days ago, I explained to you how you can use the 3 dots next to a column name to get the advanced properties of it and then go ahead and copy the logical name to your clipboard. Okay, but I'm going to show you another trick today for how to get logical names. So you start with the logical name and then you move into an operator, right? In this case, we have EQ, and I read that as equal, and that's because that's what it means. EQ means equal to. NE means not equal to, kind of logical when you look at it close. LT means less than. LE, I bet you can guess, it means less than or equal to. So you see, these E's mean or equal to, right? GT is greater than, GE is greater than or equal to. And then you can also use null sometimes. You don't use it in the same way as you use these others. You might just say here, account number equals null, right? Which means that it's blank, it's empty, all right? So this little 3 here and these numbers here, they're a way you can play around with these in your tenant. So basically, if you open up your developer environment and you test with these syntax that I'm sharing today, the numbers represent how many records you'll get back, okay? Because I know how this is going to work with sample data, so I can tell you exactly what number you're going to get back. So if you don't get that number back, either you're not using only sample data or you did something wrong. Okay, so these are the numbers you should get back. All right, so if I do account number equals null, by default, the sample data is missing the account number for 3 different accounts. Sometimes I fill them in just for consistency's sake, but if you don't fill them in, you'll get 3 back. So here are some other supported functions, which is starts with, inputs, and contains. And most of you are familiar with using these in Power Apps, but starts with, if I look at the name and I say it starts with Alpine, it'll give me 1 back, which is the same one I would get back in the case of name equals Alpine Ski House. I would get 1 back. Ends with, it's just the other side of the name, right? So if I put a parenthesis in the ends with, I'm going to get 10 back, because every single account in the sample data ends in the word sample. So I would get that back. Now, if I were going to replace this with maybe E space sample, I might get less back, because now I'm looking at company names that end in E, right? Then I have contains. I really love using contains. Contains looks at the whole name and finds this string that you put in here. So if you put in the string inc for incorporated with a dotted in, you're going to get 2 records back. Okay, so this is really, I would say it's 9/10 of what you need when you're doing OData query. As a beginner, this is something you can definitely do. It's approachable. It's not difficult. It's just a matter of knowing what's possible. You can use and statements, and so keep that in mind. But if you need more help with OData, feel free to put in the description of my video or yesterday on Rasika's video. We'd love to support you on this, but to me, this is the 101 for beginners. If you know OData, which is this slide right here, you can filter your data so that you can get back a more performant query. All right. Second thing I want to talk about is this extension called Level Up. The Level Up extension is really awesome for getting those logical names right off the screen. In other words, instead of going to where I sent you the other day, you can just install this and it'll show you the logical names in your model-driven apps. This won't work for Canvas apps. It really only works for model-driven apps, and I'll show you that too. And then lastly, I want to talk about Power Virtual Agents. Power Virtual Agents, one of the beautiful things that I love, I truly love about Power Virtual Agents is that I can call a flow from a bot, okay? And this is awesome because if your bot can call a flow, then that bot is almost invincible. What can't it do? Right? It's only limited by what's possible from a Power Automate perspective, which makes that bot super strong, right? So if you're using Power Virtual Agents, which are, I'll tell you, my big messaging for that, if I had an elevator pitch, is how many people do you know, or even yourself, you go looking for something, you have no idea where to start. You just know you need something. You're not even sure how to keyword search that something, but you know you need it and you just don't know where to start. Wouldn't it be great? You could pick up the phone and call a friend like you do in you remember that TV show, $1 Million? You could earn $1 million, but you could call a friend to help you. This is your friend that you would call. You'd call this bot and you'd say, bot, I need blah, blah, blah. I have no idea where to get it. But the bot knows where to get it. And so the bot goes and gets it from wherever it needs to get it from, and then it gives it to you. And you don't even need to know where it is, right? How many people would love to have that call a friend option when they don't know where to go, right? And maybe not everybody has access to all the data sources. So remember, your flows can run under different accounts. It doesn't have to run under the account of the person asking the question. So that person asking the question might not even need access to Dataverse. We can use a flow to go get that information and give it to them, maybe in the context of Teams. They never really needed access to Dataverse at all. They just needed the answer to their question, right? And so there's a big value in using Power Virtual Agents. Here on the screen, you can see an example. This is the configuration of a bot that's asking a question. What's your zip code? When the person responds with that zip code, it gets a variable name. That variable name is what holds that zip code. Then you call an action in flow. Now, you can create a flow right here, or you can create a pre-existing flow with the Power Virtual Agents actions in it. And then you call that flow. So when you call this flow, the action passes that variable into Power Automate. And this is in that first action in Power Automate, and I'll show you this as well. It passes the things that it needs, and then it gives back to the user, to the bot, the things that result of that flow, right? And now the bot can respond in English back to the person with those outputs from the flow. And so this is extremely easy. I don't know whether I made it sound easy, but it is seriously ABC 1, 2, 3 super easy. The one thing I will say that you must get used to is that bots don't do well with arrays, right? So like when you go and you use the list rows action in Power Automate, that list row, even if you top it by 1, like Rasika did yesterday, and you say, I only want 1 response, it's still a collection. It's a collection of 1 response. And so the bot can't take that collection and give that person back anything from that collection. It needs something, specific. So this is one formula I suggest you keep in your mind. And this is the first function. You do this from the expressions in Power Automate, where you say body list rows value, and then what you give them back is that first value field name, right? And so this gives this, if you go ahead and top it at 1, filter to the degree that you get 1 record back. Now you can use the first function to return that value to the user, and I'll show you that as well. Okay, let's take a look at all of this. OData you've already looked at with Rasika, so I'm going to jump you right into Power Apps. And so here we are in Power Apps, and you notice that I see only display names here. Now if I go back to my account table and I go into my columns and I look for account number here, I showed you this already, that you can go here and you can say copy logical name, and that will copy the logical name to your clipboard. Instead of you trying to do this kind of thing, which isn't really smart because this may not be the right logical name. And I'll just show you. I'm going to copy the logical name here, my search, okay? I'm going to paste. Notice that the account number that I pasted is lowercase. So don't assume that you can just copy this, because most of these are lowercase and they are case sensitive, all right? So rather use that. Now, you might want to you don't want to have to do that 1 column at a time, probably. So here's where this comes in. So right here, I'm looking at this screen, and now I want to be able to see all of the logical names for everything on this screen. For whatever reason, I'm doing something, maybe I'm making a flow, whatever. I don't want it to bounce back and forth in my table. I can use the level up extension. So the link to this is going to be in the chat. In the description of this video. And basically, it's an add-on. You can get it for Edge or Chrome. And you just click Get over here. And then you click Add Extension, like I just did. And you'll notice this new thing that gets added to your browser. Okay, it's an extension. And you can manage it, turn it off, turn it on from Manage Extensions. So Extensions, Manage Extensions. And I can turn this on and off as I wish. All right. Now it is on right now. So I'm going to go back here and, well, maybe I didn't turn it on. Let's turn on level up. Okay. So there it is. When I click the level up icon, I have all this value, and I'm going to let you go ahead and read the extensive help files on this because there's a lot. All right. But I'm going to click on logical names, which is my favorite one. And when you click on these, what happens is, here we go. All right. So I have it sticking now so you can see it all the time. All right. So I'm going to click this, choose logical names, and you can see that now all of the logical names are shown directly on the screen. And as I bounce from one screen to another, the same thing will occur. So I'm just going to go to this next screen, do this again. And you can see all the logical names from the event table. Now this is a custom table. So with custom tables, you'll always see the prefix of the publisher, right? But that's an awesome tool. I love it. All right. It really saves a lot of time. Now I want to go show you quickly on Power Virtual Agent. What I've configured here is a get customer address bot. This would probably be in real life. I would have a bot that does maybe 5 different things. Get customer address. I don't know. It could get any number of things that I might want to get from Dataverse or from many different data sources, depending on where they are. Only the bot has to know where they are. The person doesn't have to. They just have to know how to ask the question. But let's look at this small subset of value here. I did a get customer address. This bot's name, I think, is customer expert. And basically it has some trigger phases in here, and you know about this. This is like, what are the possible things ways they're gonna ask for this? And there is a level of machine learning. We'll start picking up on this. But then if they ask for a customer address, basically the bot's gonna say, I'm happy to help you get that address. And what the bot knows it needs is a unique identifier for the customer. So it kind of knows which customer. And so it asks for the account number. All right. And then it lets the user type whatever they want to type, and it puts it into a variable called var account number. Now it might just say var here, but if you want to change the name of this, you just hit the pencil icon. I like to change my names so that I really know the difference between vars. I don't have var 1, var 2, var 3. That's it. I don't understand that. So I put it in English, var account number. So now all the way through this bot, I might use that number many different times. I can just keep referring back to it. All right. So then I call an action, right? So I call an action, and Power Automate expects that account number, and it will get it from this variable. All right. Now, as soon as it gets it, it kicks back that address, and then it tells the customer. So if we test this bot out, I'm just going to be very polite. May I have a customer address, please? Okay, my mama raised me well. Okay, then it asked me, what's the account number? So I don't know these by heart, so I'll just put an account number. I'll just copy one from here, go back to my topic, and paste. Now, again, in real life, I might put some error validation in here as well. And then notice it says, thank you, the customer address is, and there's the composite customer address. Now, if you want to look at this flow, we just click on View Flow Details. We'll look at this real quick together. And here's the one I just ran 18 seconds ago. And it returned this address here. So let's edit the flow and look at it closely. All right. So when you create from here, so you're configuring your bot, and you click call an action, and you choose create a flow, this will build the core for you. So it's a good idea to kind of start here, right? When you do that, it'll give you these two, the first and the last, automatically. Okay? So your trigger is going to be looking for some variables to help it do stuff, right? So the first variable it's looking for is the account number, and you would add this, right? You'd add as many as you need using these 3 types of input. Then you do your list rows, right? And now notice I'm filtering by that account number. Zooming in here so you can see that account number, which is the internal name for the account number field, equals, and I put that dynamic value from the trigger. Now, another thing that I always forget, but I'll tell you not to forget, make sure you surround any strings with single quotes. If you don't surround the string with single quotes, the flow will fail, okay? Because it doesn't know that's a string, okay? And then once you get done with that, then you have that return value, and you use the word you want for the return value. And you can look at my expression here, which was the one on the slide. see, I'm going to unzoom so we can see this expression right here. First body, list rows, value, and I'm actually using the address composite. Get to know your CDM because sometimes it has some really handy fields. Address 1 composite is a way to quickly get the entire address, not doing it one at a time. Address line 1, address city, address state, address country. Instead of doing it line by line, address 1 composite has them all, right? And so I used address 1 composite, and I used a first because I cannot use a collection here, all right? And now I got the address that applies to that account number. And that's the story. And think of all the things you can do here. I mean, it's your imagination, you know, and it's amazing the opportunity you have in Power Virtual Agents because, to me, because you have flow, you can do anything, right? So think about users that need help getting places that they don't even know exist. Configure those questions and then teach the bot the answers. Let the bot do things like this, and you will add value to your conversational bots and to your audiences. All right, that is the end of day 19. I enjoyed talking to you today. I'm going to wish you happy holidays, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 20 of the Dataverse Advent Calendar.